So it's a great privilege to welcome Joel this morning, Joel Morris. And Joel's going to share with us a little bit about Union and a little bit about the connection with South Korea, particularly SaRang Church. So, Joel, welcome, and thanks for taking the time to come and join me, because I know that you're a busy man. So I really appreciate the fact that you've taken this time. So welcome, Joel.
Thanks, Gwyneth. It's a joy to be here. Thank you.
Great. Listen, why don't we start with you just giving those who are listening a little bit of an idea of who you are and where you're based and things. Can we start with that?
Sure. I'm Joel Morris. I'm the Executive Director at Union, and I'm based here in Bridgend at our ministry centre at Bridgend. And I live in Porthcawl. I've got a wife and 3 kids.
Lovely. That was short and sweet, which is great. Yeah, because we're here to talk about Union, and I know that you yourself have got a connection with South Korea, haven't you?
Mm-hmm.
Just talk a little bit about that. Just make the connection for us between you and South Korea to start with, would you?
Well, my wife is Korean, so there's an obvious connection there.
Yeah.
So we met in Resolven, of all places, at the Neath Valley. She was with a group of young Koreans doing mission training and learning English language. I was with OM at the time on the Logos 2 ship, and she was in one of my supporting churches. And I came home and got stuck back into church life, and I think I was leading a youth meeting in the church she was at, and I later joined the church, and we hit it off and got together, and we had three kids, one girl and 2 boys. And then we later went to live in South Korea. When I was doing my doctorate, I was finishing my doctorate and ended up running out of money and had to rent my house out in Swansea and move to Seoul to finish writing, live with her parents, and we ended up staying on in Seoul for a couple of years, working and enjoying life there as a young family.
Brilliant. Now, I've always known that SaRang Church in particular have got a heart for Wales. And what I'd like you to explain, I understand what that connection is and where it was birthed. Just explain to those who are listening, who probably have no idea of why there's a strong connection between SaRang Church or South Korean churches and Wales. Can you?
I'll try and do it very concisely.
Go on. Yeah.
So as I was married to Hereen, my wife, I just realised there's a lot of Koreans coming to Wales all the time. And I hadn't realised it before how many Koreans were going to this place in Hanover, just north of Pontypool, I think it is, or south of Pontypool. My geography is rubbish, by the way. And yeah, what are all these Koreans doing here? And I heard about the story of Robert Jermaine Thomas, and I'd never heard about this guy, who he was. He basically gone and died in Korea and hadn't come back and forgot about until recently. And all these Koreans were coming over as a sort of pilgrimage to go to his sending church and visit the home where he lived. And so I began to look into it and learn the story. And there's a book actually that's been published called Chosen for Josen, which is pretty informative. You can get that here on Amazon, I'm sure. So yeah, and as I got into this story, I was just amazed to hear about it, really. And it's basically that this guy Robert Jermaine I think originally he went to China, lost his wife and his child on the way, heard about this hermit kingdom in the south of China called Korea that was really just shut up and closed off. They weren't trading with anybody. They didn't want anyone to come and pay a visit, and so people were trying to open up trade, the British and the Americans and different countries, and he basically, I think he was trying to get to go there, got it really put on his heart to try to take the Bible to the Koreans and try to reach out to them. And he ended up getting on an American gunboat that was trying to open up trade, a little bit forcibly, I'd imagine. So they sailed up the Pyongyang River into what we call North Korea now, and into Pyongyang. And there was different altercations. They were trying to open up the trade route there, and they weren't really welcome, and they were told to go. And the boat ended up to be firebombed. This is in 1866. Everybody died on the boat. He got sort of stuck on this sandbank, and Robert made it to the bank of the river. So he was shouting the name Jesus and handing out the Bibles, and he was beheaded there on the bank of the river. And so we're told that the guy that killed him took the scriptures back to his home, and because they really value paper in Korea, he papered the walls of his house with the scriptures, and would read the walls, and his family would read the walls, and people coming to his home would read the walls, and he was saved, and that became the first church in Korea, the first indigenous church, through reading the walls of the house. And so for a lot of Koreans, they come to Wales, they come to Thomas's home, and they recognize him as the first Protestant martyr of Korea.
Brilliant.
And so the SaRang connection really was all about SaRang, in a sense, on behalf of the Korean church, wanting to pay back this spiritual debt they felt they owed to Wales, in a meaningful way. There's also a connection with the Welsh revival that's a little bit more difficult to pin down, but I've heard different stories. But how the Welsh revival impacted the Great Awakening in Korea in 1907, which actually came out of the north in Pyongyang. And it was called the Jerusalem of the East. It was a real explosion of Christianity. So yeah, just incredible if you think about what God has done, in that nation over 150 or 160 years.
Yeah, amazing. And, I'm just thinking about Robert Jermaine now. And, if he was to look now at what has developed between South Korea and the heart that they have for Wales, and he gave his life for that, one man. Amazing, isn't it? And really, really humbling, really humbling. So, what's clear is that SaRang Church have got a heart for Wales. Yeah.
Yes.
Explain a little bit, open that up a little bit for us, Joel, as far as how that works out in a practical way. Can you?
So a connection was made with SaRang going back, I think, 2010, perhaps. I'm trying to remember back, but I think about 2010, where there was a prayer meeting in Llanelli in a field, and one of the church members had come over and gone to that prayer meeting, and had met one of our PhD students, and who shared the plight of the college at the time, which was kind of dire straits. And she went back, told her pastor, "You need to come and help these guys in Wales." And so somehow the Lord moved his heart, and suddenly we had a whole entourage of Koreans, kind of VIPs rocking up one day, and people had no idea what was going on. And there were even film crews.
Wow.
So I think they decided to do something, and when they decide to do something, they really go for it. So this was before I was living in Korea, I think, or before I knew about the project. And they signed this commitment, to support and to take it on, to take responsibility for turning it around. But I was at the signing ceremony in SaRang. Peter Milsom was there. I remember him being there, and a few others. Graham John came over, and Jonathan Stephen, and I remember meeting Jonathan like halfway down the aisle of the church, and just saying how excited I was to see. I knew the college, I knew the history, and my wife actually studied in Bridgend years ago. She did 1 year, and then we got married. And and he was saying, "Oh, we need people like you to be part of this project," you know. And little did I know, I would be. But yeah, you look back, you think, well, the Lord's, kind of will bringing everything together, and even that in that meeting. But then I was kind of sucked into the project because my wife worked at the church, and they knew of me.
Yeah.
They would start asking, the pastor would start asking me lots of questions. What can we do? How can we help? Will this work? Will that work? And so I kind of got sucked into it in a kind of consultation kind of mode. They didn't know I existed in here. But in Korea, there was a Welshman that was helping to kind of steer the ship in a way. I mean, I'm not from a theological background. I mean, I've done mission work, and I've come from an engineering background working in the university. But suddenly I'm involved in helping this SaRang, Korean church.
Yeah, it was for such a time as this, wasn't it? Really, wasn't it?
Yeah, just remarkable. And if I hadn't gone to Korea, I just wouldn't be there. I wouldn't be involved in Union probably. I had to go there to kind of, that was my route in.
Brilliant.
And I was looking for something to do in the ministry space. I was happy in my work. I was very passionate about engineering and entrepreneurship, and taking science and finding route to market. That was my passion, being creative in that. And then suddenly one day God emptied my passion out for that and filled me with a real drive to do something for Wales, for the church, but I think for Europe as well. And there was this sort of vision of doing something through this for you that would really impact the whole of Europe and to serve Europe through Wales, through Bryn Tirien.
Wow, that's a massive vision, isn't it? Looking at Europe, not just looking at a theological college in Wales, but looking at a theological college in Wales, but how can that be a platform to influence Europe with the gospel? What a privilege! What a privilege! What a privilege for Wales and you guys in Bryn Tirien. So
yeah, one thing I'd say as well is that I really experienced a kind of a different perspective being in Korea. That just the faith that they have, the Korean church, and their prayer life. It was kind of pivotal for me in my spiritual walk, in my walk with the Lord, my own faith. It's kind of infectious. You kind of really pick up that expectation of what God can do and not limit God, and attempt great things. That sort of radical faith lived out. That's what I really picked up there, and I kind of feel like I rode that wave coming back to Wales, and kind of ongoingly have a sense of that, where I think sometimes in Wales we can get bogged down, and a little bit defeated and a little bit inward looking, when God is working and He's doing new things and moving in ways that we perhaps are surprised by, but in His will to bring something that's historical, a connection, and to the Korean church that's enjoyed such growth over the last sort of couple of decades, and then really infusing some of that vibrancy and fruitfulness and faith back into Wales, in through this college, is just you wouldn't do it, you wouldn't think of it, and yet God in His wisdom, and it's really, and I think they've really, I think without SaRang stepping in and being obedient, I just don't think we'd be here. I just don't think we'd be here a long time ago, because it needed that fresh, not just injection of funding, but fresh ideas, fresh kind of vision, and a concern for engaging with the church today. Where the thing that I sort of had in my sort of bonnet when I came was really connecting with churches and asking them, how can we serve you? What do we need to do? How can we help you grow? How can we start you to, walk with you and push forward in the gospel? And that's really the question that shaped what we have now with Union. That's informed the whole ministry and really flipped it from a model of, you need to send your people here so we can train them and then they can go back to you, or they go somewhere else, to how can we serve you? You need training where you are. Okay, we'll come to you. We'll serve you. You need books. You need videos. Okay, we'll do that. So it's a different mentality. We're not sitting passively waiting for churches to send us people. We're here we're a servant ministry of the church, and I think that was always the heart for people here. But it's engaging in that in a new kind of era where, especially since COVID, people want training. They don't want to have to leave their ministry context, their church plants, their churches, to go off to college for 3 or 4 years. Lots of people can't afford it. And I think through COVID, it's really sped up that process of change anyway. And so, yeah, we still have the site here. We still have Bridgend. We still have, and actually it's growing. But we've got different uses for it now. It's sort of opened up the use. Most of our students are in their churches learning and training. They come for intensives, or they come for a conference or a sabbatical or something, but they don't need to come here to access the education and training, but they can if they want. And so we're able to serve churches more broadly as well, having different events, freed up the use of the site. So I'd say in one sense, it's sort of gone back to the times of, in terms of the site use, back to the time of Bridgend, where it could be used for camps now. It could be used for church retreats, for elders meetings. We don't need to keep it for the college use. It's sort of freed up, really. And so we've got lots of groups coming in and renting space, and lots of Christian groups. And we've launched a cafe on site and a bookshop. So that sort of thing. It's just really, I think, quite freeing in terms of how we're trying to serve. And I think what it's given us is an incredible network of church partners across Europe, and even now in North America as well, and in parts of Africa, of hubs, of training hubs, where we're delivering education and training and books and content. And yeah, this is still home here. And we try to help people come in and have that good community time with them relationally. But we don't need to guess how we can serve churches. We just go and ask them. They're very happy to tell us, and that's really informing how we develop and grow. We're here to serve the church. We're here to see churches grow and flourish and become healthy, and we're not here to make churches serve us. That's really key. That's why we chose the name Union, because it's us and the church working in union together to raise up and help and nurture future leaders and help growth.
I'm going to ask you a bit about Union in a minute, okay? Yeah. But what struck me there, Joel, was how we do have a tendency in Wales, and sometimes for very good reason, that we just see the problems that are in front of us, because it's a hard ground for the gospel, etc. And so it's natural to have that sort of, you're just looking at what's in front of you. But the way you were inspired was that that's what you've shared. You captured that spirit of faith and vision. And I just sensed that God took you there in order to capture that, in order to have that placed within you, so that you could bring it back to Wales and see the bigger picture, not just for Wales, but for Europe as well. And, it's just wonderful how the Lord works on us as individuals and places us as pieces of a jigsaw with our consent, obviously, because we walk with him. But places us in particular places at particular times for a particular purpose. And I just see that clearly, just listening to your testimony. So wonderful. So thank you, Joel, for bringing that spirit of vision and faith back to Wales. You're not the only person, I know, but you captured something. And thank you to SaRang Church as well for giving Joel that opportunity. So listen, what about Union? Tell us a little bit more about Union now then, and so that people can understand, and so that I can understand a little bit better as well.
Thank you. Yeah, Union really it's sort of flowed out of what was West Bryntyrion and SaRang together,
right?
Given us an opportunity really in a moment where there was a financial downturn. You had this investment in from SaRang, which was significant, and we were able to ask questions about what we're doing and why. Especially when you feel like the wheels are coming off. It's a good time to start asking questions. Why are we here? What are we doing?
Yeah.
Why does the church need us to be here? And then Mike Reeves joined us at the same sort of time. I knew he was leaving UCCF, and yeah, we sort of said, let's do this together. We've got a similar vision in how we want to try to serve the church. That could be quite exciting. He sort of thought it through a bit more in how it might look. So basically 4 streams that interconnect. And he took this from a guy called Douglas Johnson, I think, who was kind of responsible for setting up UCCF and Tyndale House, London Bible College, and something else, IVP. And just as a historian, he's good at that, and he kind of pulls out kind of nuggets of gold, and just the way that kind of worked together to impact evangelicalism back in the day, and how over time they drifted apart. And he was saying, well, what if we could just do those 4 things again, but actually have them stay in one organization so they can't drift apart? Because he could see how it could work together with publishing and how it sort of flows. So we had that in our minds, and we started to build that from the school out. And the first thing we did, we went to Liverpool, and we were talking with the Northwest Gospel Partnership, and they were saying, we really need a training option here. We want something that we can show videos and then have a breakout session with our guys. Most of our guys have got a bachelor's. They don't need a BA. They've got a ministry training course. And I thought, well, we've got this graduate diploma sitting on the shelf. And so we took that as a conversion degree, and then we shaped this thing around what they told us, which was what we call now a learning community, where we bring the content in. We've recorded videos. We've given them content and reading and books, and they have these breakout seminars 1 day a week. They eat together, and so they did that for 2 years. We piloted it. We rewrote the whole curriculum. And then we rolled it out into 2 other locations, one with Glen Scrivener and one maybe in Oxford. And then the next year, it went to 9 locations.
Okay.
And so we thought, well, we really hit on something here. This is a model that can be replicated elsewhere. We're not, we're not growing our expenses either. We're making videos. We're making this platform, and it's sort of duplicating it, running it in sync. And so it was sustainable for us. And then we took the MTH, the master's course in that model as well. And I think at the moment we've got 42 of these learning communities around the world.
In a period of how long a period are we looking at?
Probably getting on 7-8 years now.
Okay.
And we don't have the same ones we started with. I think we have one in Wales at the moment. We used to have 2. they kind of have a lifespan.
Yeah.
You'll hit a location, and we'll have a bunch of guys joining. They'll go through, and they might just dry up, and we close it, and we move on. So you can set them up really easily. You just need a room, Wi-Fi, and a TV, and a guy, and away you go. So it's really lean. But we also have people coming to Bryn Tyrion. We have master students, a lot of Americans and UK people, pastors in ministry that want to come for a week sabbatical, do the course, read, do their work, and then go back.
Okay.
And that's a nice model for them.
Yeah.
So it's just more flexibility, I think, across the whole piece with the school.
Yeah.
More access, more flexible. We don't limit. We don't say you have to come here to do everything, and create that bottleneck, which is a problem.
Yeah.
We say, how can we open up access? And surely that's the right instinct for training. If you're about growing the church, it's about helping people get on and get what they need to go and do what they need to do. And then SaRang started giving us money for church plants, which was like out of the blue. But I connected with our mission part, the sort of mission activity area, where we wanted to see our students graduate and plant churches. And so we were saying, well, hey, let's bring this money and let's fund these church plants and replants. And so we created a grant making arm called Union Mission,
right?
Which is kind of growing into a network of planting and learning communities, and that kind of crossover. So in Rome and in Athens as well, there's two early adopters. They train their guys up using the graduate diploma or the MTH, and then they get funding through mission to plant out around the city. And so it's a training planting hub. And that just seems to work for a lot of guys, to be able to do it rapidly, or even while they're studying, they plant out. So that was mission came on stream. We're developing that now to be more of a network, to give more support and encouragement, mentoring, coaching, and connect it more across the ecosystem. Then came research with Newton House, which is sort of PhD and above, helping to create thinkers, authors, future faculty for Union. And we're still working and tinkering on that. During COVID, we launched a publishing house called Union Publishing.
Okay.
And that has just been huge for us. In terms of like the pre-degree engagement of content and access, that's just opened up. We recruited a young man from Canada who started a publishing house in his garage, who I just thought was so entrepreneurial and so just a machine. And we were able to recruit and bring him over here to Bridgend. He lives in Bridgend with his family, and he has just done wonders. We've got editors. We've got one commission editor left. IVP came to us. And so we're doing about 6 or 7 books a year, but it's just given us the opportunity to do more theology at that level, to churches, and it's given a connection there, and that's created an opportunity for video. So we do the books, we'll do videos, we'll do audio, ebooks. We're creating a video platform for pre-degree training, all at the accessible end of the spectrum. Because what was in our heads was, we need to encourage people in the pew to like get into theology. We need to provide a contact point there and get guys into good theology. So then at some point they'll come and train at a learning community or come to Bryn Tyrion here.
Yeah.
So we can't, again, it's not just focusing on that one piece. It's looking at the whole ecosystem, the whole, from cradle to grave, trying to engage with, younger Christians who, and even in some places, they just don't know, and they get a taste through a good book or through a podcast, and they get into the Union ecosystem, and then there's just lots to just feast on and grow in your faith. And we want to give churches discipleship material, things that they can run small groups with, small books, like the book on prayer Mike did. Those small little books are just so easy for guys to pick up and read and do together. They're creating study guides for those.
But if there's somebody watching this who has something sparked inside of them that they want some more information, it could be a student, it could be a pastor. They need to understand more about how you serve the church and what you're offering. What's the best way of getting in touch?
I think go to the main website, which is uniontheology.org.
Okay.
Uniontheology.org, and you can connect to us through that website, and it'll show you a kind of overview of all that we're doing. There are other websites you'll go off to, like school and publishing and mission, but that's where you get the sort of overarching view, and just get into it and enjoy it. Reach out and connect. We want to grow in Wales. We want to really serve Welsh churches. We're here. It's on our doorstep. But also we want to serve the church around the world. We want to go into India and Africa and serve where we can, where the need is, because the need is global. We've got the technology now to really reach all of these people and serve them, and it's all happening from a little field in Bridgend. So that's pretty humbling and great. God is doing that. But if you're local, drop in. We've got a lovely cafe. We'd love to see you. I'm around most days, and when I'm not traveling. And we'll have a coffee.
Brilliant. We first of all met a couple of months ago, and as soon as I started talking to you, I felt, Wales needs to hear more about this, and I've learned so much in just doing some background reading before today's conversation, and then I've learned so much today as well. So if nobody else, Joel, you've helped me understand Union and what the college does in Bryn Sirion, in Bridgend. So thank you. Is there anything else that you'd like to say before we go off air, or do you think you've covered most things?
Please pray for us. I think what we're trying to do is difficult. At the backdrop to all of this is that lots of seminaries, lots of colleges around the world, in the UK, in the US even, are struggling. Schools in the US are selling off their campuses and downsizing. We're trying to make a model that is sustainable and can grow and is serving a purpose, serving the churches well. That's incredibly difficult in this context to be able to do that. So pray for us and share the good news. I think lots of people don't know. Lots of people still think of us as what it was 20, 30 years ago. I think lots of things have changed. We're trying to be, trying to be relevant for today and for the future needs of the church, and engage. And we'd love to hear from people. If they want to get in touch, we'd love to hear from them. And but we're here from Wales. One of the things I haven't mentioned is the Daniel Rowland Centre and Network, which is lots of Welsh language books that we kind of inherited when we bought the site here. That's about 3,000 to 4,000 Welsh language books. Actually, that's growing. We're getting donations for. We're cataloguing. There's a special space we're creating for that in the library. So the library is here for use. You can become a member. You can use these books, all the English books as well. But also we're partnering with Rodri Glyn in North Wales, and we're trying to serve Welsh language church ministers as well by facilitating a network and encouraging them. So we're wanting to do more for Wales, wanting to reach out and help and serve where we can. We would love to hear from you, but do pray for us. We're trying to do a difficult thing, but I think it's really God's vision for this ministry, and we believe and we see lots of fruit from it and His provision, pray for us. Something that I've been impressed with is it's a time for more gospel partnership that's international. where you have this connection with Korea, we connect with guys in India, in Lucknow, in Africa, in Ethiopia, now in Seoul and Canada. And it's like you've got this connecting point that's theological, but also that's missional, and it's with the church. And it's like, wow, it's really enriching. And we're still working on what is God doing there, and how can we encourage this sort of connection and relationships. And maybe we could get churches partnering together to help plant, to help send teams over. This sort of,
it's big, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's big, isn't it?
Quite exciting.
Yeah, because
why not from Wales? We can do it.
Exactly, because when you look at the global connectivity, really, that is available to all of us, it's a great opportunity for the gospel.
We've got so much partnership in Wales. We've got such a rich heritage.
Yeah,
and I think we just need to pick up our heads and see what's out there, and just see the need around the world. I just think we've got so much to give, and we need to engage. We can't be like doing this in our own little backyard. But actually, I think as you go out and you do stuff internationally, and you give and you support, you really grow, and you really get that experience of faith in action, and the prayer life. So Brilliant. I'd encourage everybody to get out and do something crazy and radical. Go and partner with the church in Ethiopia or something. Even if you can't afford it, God's given you resources. Go and use them.
Brilliant. Joel, thank you very much indeed, because like I said, I know you're a busy man and you've taken time to record this conversation, so I'm really grateful to you. Okay.
Thanks for the opportunity. It's a pleasure.
Okay.
God bless you.
God bless you. Bye, Joel. Bye.
Gwyneth. Bye.